Hi everybody, and a particular thanks to Nora and all the team at CO3 for the invitation to speak to you all today. I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to open this conference and to support the agenda that you have set for yourselves. So as you all know, the conference is organised around a central question, which is probably a really important question. Can a better society emerge from the recent crisis? And the answer undoubtedly is yes. I think everyone attending over the next couple of days has been asked to challenge old approaches and consider new possibilities. And I think it's really appropriate given that this COVID crisis and a pandemic that we're still going through has, changed and challenged us all, and really confronted us with what were unprecedented and unforeseen times. I also believe that it has highlighted problems that we particularly lived with for far too long. So this crisis showed us that people who were already vulnerable became more so. People already insecure, people already living in poverty, already isolated, became more so. And that's not something any of us want to watch. So locally, the voluntary and community sector groups in many areas were the first responders to this crisis, and the rest was caught up. And because we all existed and sometimes worked apart and at times together, it was a challenge. But during COVID and during this crisis, we all eventually caught up. And the sector, in my opinion, and indeed my personal experience, has always been from the ground up. It's always been there to support communities, to meet local needs and to plug the gaps. And the challenge is, how do I as an executive minister and the rest of my colleagues make that happen? So as you may already be aware, the Department for Communities backed the community response to COVID-19. Deirdre Harkey established an emergencies leadership group back in March, bringing in grassroots community leaders, the voices from right across the north around issues and sectors on advice and volunteering. And this leadership group was critically important because it advised and guided my department in developing emergency support packages, community funds, access to food and pharmacy services, community wellbeing and volunteering, and then some. So the Department for Communities invested in grassroots organisations and worked with our local government colleagues to coordinate efforts on the ground. We invested in regional delivery of advice, volunteering and community wellbeing, and we collectively delivered emergency funding for charities that were at risk of closure. We are now preparing to launch a £7 million social enterprise fund that will sustain and protect a critical part of our third sector, and I am proud of the community response over the past 6 months, and I am proud of my department's support for the sector over this time. But we're not done yet. I know we all need to do more, and I know we have all more to do. So building back better for me means at the very heart of it tackling poverty and deprivation. I am completely committed to changing old approaches and considering new possibilities, and will be bringing forward an ambitious anti-poverty and a child poverty strategy. This crisis exposed the reality of poverty in our communities: food poverty, digital poverty, fuel poverty, inadequate housing, homelessness, poor mental health, and unfortunately the list goes on. So we do need to have new thinking and new approaches. Building back better for me means building community wealth, making sure that our public investment directs wealth back into the local economy and brings benefits to local people. I want to do more on community assets transfer, more on progressive procurement, and more on community-led regeneration. Building back better means collective leadership. It means real partnership. It means working together for outcomes and not just processes. So across the board, We've seen this happening over the last 6 months. We've seen work between departments, between local and central government, between government and the private sector, between the community and voluntary sector, and all of the above. We've all worked flexibly, creatively, quickly, and you in particular have moved in where you were needed and worked with willing partners, and you've got things done. I have no doubt there are many people out there who will be eternally grateful. I've heard from people from the sector say they felt over recent months that I had an equal seat at the table for the first time. They felt valued, they felt respected, they felt your voice was heard and your influence was felt. This was long overdue, and it won't be a one-off. The best of what we've seen over the past 6 months must become our new custom and practice. I want to see a new baseline of inclusion, of co-designed solutions, of proper support for delivery. This approach will be at the heart of how I do business in my department and how we do business in the Department for Communities. I will be supporting the work of the Joint Forum and other emerging partnerships between government and the sector to make sure this is how we all do our business. A better society can emerge from this crisis. A better society must emerge from this crisis if we are steadfast and insist that it does. I hope the debates and the learning and the support networks developed during this conference will help galvanise this effort and lead us all forward. I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for all the work that you've done, for all the work that we're going to do together, and for getting help and support to some of the most vulnerable in our society. They are eternally grateful, and this department is eternally grateful to you all. So Gor Mila Magov, and be safe.